back to EMA Partners Leadership Insight series. India is a land of entrepreneurs, and the influence of private equity and venture capital over the past many years has further fueled the spirit of entrepreneurship in our country. This has led to the rise of several businesses across the spectrum. Suffice to say, for the right purpose, capital is never in short supply. This time, we are thrilled to bring forth views from a select group of private equity and venture capital investors as they weigh in on the opportunities arising out of the pandemic and how they see the India story shaping. We hope you will enjoy this episode.
India had one of the most severe lockdowns around the world in the months of April, May, and June. And therefore, there was a lot of concern on what the shape of recovery will be and how far we'll be set back as an economy. Having seen what's happened in months of September and October in terms of recovery, all indicators are looking very strong, and therefore the belief in the strength of recovery is high. In terms of looking ahead on investment themes and sectors that will do well, I can see three distinct themes emerging. One is online commerce. Be it products or services, I believe companies involved in online commerce of all kinds are likely to do well as long as they're taking care of unit economics. Second, at-home consumption will get a great boost because all of us are spending more time at home. And therefore, the companies that are selling packaged foods, beverages for home consumption, or are providing goods and services that make your life at home comfortable, or improve your productivity, or make your house look good, will also be in high demand. And finally, I also believe that this pandemic will greatly improve the prospects of companies that are focusing on making your health and hygiene better.
I see two trends playing out in the months ahead as we recover out of this pandemic. One is consolidations. It will be a case of big becoming bigger as larger companies, more efficient larger companies, look to expand their footprint and their businesses through inorganic buyouts. And it will be the weaker businesses that will sell out to these larger companies. Second big trend that I see is this whole collaboration and partnership between online and offline businesses. We can already see it playing out on the brand side. Both Flipkart and Amazon are rapidly increasing the partnerships that they are doing with offline businesses, and it'll be very interesting to see how both of them gain from these partnerships and build valuable businesses.
If one really looks at how the pandemic has played a role in on the overall macroeconomic front, it's been quite widespread. And if you look at the tech or the digital ecosystem, it too has been impacted. But with that impact has also come opportunities. And I'd probably characterize these opportunities in three broad areas. The first being around the digitization of small retailers, both on the internal business aspects of it, as well as on the customer external facing aspects, and really creating efficiencies which weren't there in the system. The second is around giving broader access to affordable healthcare and affordable education from a discovery standpoint, from a point of service, as well as on distribution, and really creating a full stack quality controlled mechanism for all aspects of healthcare and education. And the third really is around how of the 500 to 600 million internet users in the country, how we can move more and more of them to transacting users where the overall value to GDP grows, and they're not just passive users. Of course, that last thing will take a little bit longer because you're talking about changing customer preferences, customer behaviors, and socioeconomic patterns that have been there in the country for decades. But a forced change is probably the best way to actually bring about these changes and really metamorphosize industries as whole.
India is already the third largest startup ecosystem in the world, but a combination of higher demand for technology-led businesses as well as availability of more talent could accelerate India's startup ecosystem even further, is what I think. And not only that, we could see even more number of multi-billion-dollar startups growing up in India in the years to come. The second area where we could see some revival happening is manufacturing after almost a decade of very slow growth. And this could happen because of deglobalization, which is happening across the globe, as well as some of the reforms which the government has done recently.
As a tech investor, throughout the pandemic, we've seen startups, both big and small, being extremely resilient. Clearly, we're seeing a new normal as far as customers' behavior are concerned, whether the customers are individuals or businesses. As a result of that, the set of opportunities we are seeing arising out of the current environment straddle across e-commerce, SaaS, enterprise tech, digitization of SMEs in India, social and content, amongst other areas. The key enablers in India are already in place, whether it's smartphone penetration in India, availability of UPI as a payment railway, the availability of data to broad set of consumers, and therefore we feel very excited about how the India tech story is going to shape up in coming years.
We at Process Ventures are trying to identify new consumer trends that are being disrupted by technology. And at the same time, we are trying to find a set of entrepreneurs who are not just picking those trends, but are also delivering on them. And we are doing so on a global basis. Despite the pandemic, we remain long India and we remain long Indian startup ecosystem. In fact, if anything, the quality of ideas, the quality of founders that we have seen recently has only strengthened our resolve and our confidence. Of course, there are a certain set of sectors that have seen tailwinds due to the pandemic, and therefore are seeing special or increased investor love in the short term. But we believe that in the medium to long term, almost all consumer tech sectors in India will come back even stronger.
Well, the pandemic has definitely changed consumption behavior, has changed buyer behavior, has changed how we live indoors and behave indoors. And some of the opportunities that have come out of this are around the consumer tech area. E-commerce marketplaces have sort of multiplied growth. Similarly, a lot of new age D2C clean label brands have also sort of emerged out of the woodworks. I think that is going to be a big opportunity going forward. Similarly, on the healthcare and wellness side, a lot of new opportunity sets have emerged, especially on the nutraceutical sides. We see a lot more traction there, a lot more sort of awareness about wellness, about healthcare regimen. Change in consumption behavior will drive a lot of businesses on a go-forward basis. The India story continues to remain intact for us, and we see the macro drivers to continue to be in place. It'll take a year or two to emerge out of the impact of the pandemic. We see a lot of pent-up demand playing through, which was held back for the last 6 to 8 months, and that will play out in the fin services space, in the consumer space, and more importantly in the health and wellness space.
I think the pandemic has sensitized us to extreme tail risks. We do realize that businesses that are technology enabled, they have been able to withstand the pandemic in a way better, in a way seamless fashion. Business continuity in a variety of sectors, right, got impacted by the pandemic, whether it was healthcare, pharma distribution, pharma logistics, FMCG distribution, manufacturing, supply chains in manufacturing, across procurement. They all figured out, or they all learned what business continuity is in the environment, in the context of the pandemic. And the biggest opportunity that arises out of this is really of digitization. Getting one view of your entire supply chain, your entire production, from a manufacturing to a services entity. I think that's where we believe a lot of disproportionate amount of dollars are going to go in creating this visibility across corporate India and the world.